All right, well, interview series preseason rolls on, and today I'm graced by Ariana Pagan. So we've talked to Peyton and Kelsey during this week, and now we get a chance to talk with Ariana. And so the first thing I want to bring back up to you, just amazing last year WAC tournament, first round Chicago State, and you threw down 8 aces in that match. I mean, I was counting with tallies all over my pad. That's the most aces in an SFA match since 1994. You weren't even born then, and I remember researching that. But, you know, so much of volleyball is serve and serve receive, so I want to talk about that for you first. When did you first develop your serve? What do you think makes your serve so tough? And, how much work have you put in on serving?
So honestly, I think I grew up as better my serve here at SFA, because at home I would always do it standing. I never did jump flow, so I think the training here and I've developed since freshman year, and it's so much better now because of SFA and their training. Because at home it was just standing. We didn't have much space, so we couldn't do that jump flow. And then freshman year I was like, okay, this is not super consistent, but let's get it. Let's try to get it consistent, get in rhythm. And then, well, as a junior, it definitely paid off.
I don't think I've heard you say that before. So I mean, your serve really did change when you came to college then.
Yes, it definitely changed. I always struggle with the toss and jumping at the same time, but it has definitely gotten better. I still struggle a little bit, but it's so much more better than freshman year. So.
And now let's chat about receive. I went back, this time of the year is the time of the year where we start adding up numbers and things. And in the 3 years that you've been here at SFA, you've receive in match almost 1,700 times. So that's more than anybody over the last 3-year period that's on the club. So what to you makes a good receive? Not just the technical side of it, but when you're in receive and you get as many balls back there as you do and pass as well as you do, what do you have to do to be a consistent passer?
I think the biggest thing is just being patient and being still. I think the best thing to do is just less movements and waiting for that ball to come to you. I've always been super calm and steady back there. I love serve receive, so that's another thing. And just communicating with my teammates, taking control and just waiting for the ball to come to you and then attack, basically.
Do you think sometimes that players focus too much on the upper body part of receive, meaning the platform, as opposed to their feet? Sometimes, in receive, players get happy feet and they start chopping a little bit. What's the importance of the lower body, the feet, versus the actual platform?
I think in a lot of cases, even if you don't get your feet there, it's more about platform and just aiming it to target. But feet is definitely important too, because if you don't stay low, then the ball stays in the 10-foot line. You always want to stay low. You always want to attack the ball. And so just thinking about that and making sure that your platform is always aiming to target, that's definitely the biggest thing.
I thought you said something interesting a minute ago in that you really like serve receive. Sometimes I get the impression that there are players that don't like serve receive, that they'd rather not have first contact.
I think it's because of the pressure that comes with it. Everything starts with a pass, and if you don't pass a ball, setter can't set, no one can hit, so it's a lot of pressure. But I've had so many experiences in pressure situations and different stages in serve receive when it's 24-24, 25-25, and I just feel with the experience and just making mistakes too, I've learned so much from it, so I feel I'm really confident doing it now.
That is a really great answer. I see that from the sideline in you a lot. Last year we used you a lot in the jersey. We used you at libero, and then as needs arose, then you'd go back on the outside Talk about that a little bit. When was that first proposed to you? Was that your idea? Was that D-Hump's idea as far as the jersey?
So basically, the last year in preseason, like I was playing as an outside hitter, but then like before we started conference play, that's when she was like, "Okay, we need a really consistent passer. I think that could be you." And so I was like, "Okay, if it's like the best thing for the team and like it's gonna help us win, I'll definitely take the role." And like we also had other outside hitters that could do the work, and I was like, "Okay, let's do it." And that's when I switched. I finished the whole season as a libero, but now I'm back to outside hitter.
Right. So now you're back to that role of playing all the way around. And I mean, there have been, not only have you had the libero role, you've had the attacker role before we switched you, like you said, libero. And I mean, there have been times too when you've been used as an attacker all the way around and as a back row attacker. So I want to talk about the concept of an outside hitter, whether they play the 3 rotations on the back or whether they play all the way around, hitting from behind the 10-foot line. That's another thing that I feel like that through time that you've really developed. Talk about the difference between attacking when you're back row versus front row. I mean, I know that everybody sees there's a big difference, but I'm just talking about mentally. Again, I think sometimes players are not comfortable hitting from deep on the floor.
It's as an all-around like 6 rotation. If you're like hitting in the front row and back row, you definitely have more responsibilities and like just like passing and defense and then hitting. In the back row, like I would say, we don't get as much balls, so it's like you want to be smart with the balls that you get as a back row attacker and get the setter out and just like try to put it in play. If you can score, great, but like at least get the setter to play that ball. So.
What about vision there? I mean, if you're in left front and you're attacking from left front, and you go through what you're looking at versus as the set's coming to you, versus when you're say set on the pipe in the back row. What's your vision differences? What are you looking at across the other side of the net before you hit?
So I always try to like stay in front of the ball, so like be patient and like wait for the setter to set that ball, so like I can get my feet to the ball and like make sure that I'm seeing the court and also like the block, so I can tool. And like I'm not the highest jumper on the team, so it's like I rely a lot on my arm and like just that ball control and like just seeing the court middle box, doing that sharp angle and kind of like mixing up the shots all the time. And so just kind of like staying in front of the ball and getting my feet there. That's definitely the biggest thing.
As you go through 2, 3, 4 years of collegiate volleyball, there's going to be those times where your body's kind of barking at you, where you're tired, and but this time of the year with freshmen coming in, some of them have not had this experience of training in preseason at this level, and you trained very well when you were in Puerto Rico, and then you came here, so like you said, you have a lot of experience in that. But what do you think you do better conditioning wise now than when you first came to SFA? What do you think you've learned about just keeping yourself ready conditioning wise?
I think just taking care of the little things like sleep and just hydration and eating well, that takes a big part. And sometimes athletes think that like the training, it's the most important, but it's truly the recovery and like what you do outside of training and conditioning and practicing. So like definitely sleeping. Like if I don't sleep, I'm not gonna have a good day. So it's like just making sure I'm getting my 8 hours of sleep and eating well, hydrating, going to treatment, and just like taking care of that thing. And also telling the freshmen like, hey, this is what's gonna help, because like I've been through this, we have a long season, so it's like if you don't take care of your body now, like then you're not gonna be able to perform at a high level in November. And so like that's one of the things I'm like really on it right now, so I can be able to like perform, I guess, at the end.
It's interesting you bring up the hydration issue, because that's something that's been called to my attention for different reasons. My wife's going through some massage therapy, physical therapy right now, and they've been teaching her about hydration and sort of her rehabilitation for some things. And I've started we're challenging each other to drink a gallon of water a day, and that's just a lot. I've noticed, though, when you're on the bus, though, that you hydrate really, really well. So, I mean, it's like, I think that's an interesting point. I think sometimes you think about weights, you think about food, you think about sleep, but that concept of replacing all that water during the day, the person I was talking to was telling me that it'll help me think better if I drink that much water.
It's definitely a habit that you have to create. Like, it's a habit. So like, I always carry my bottle with me. If I'm in the bus, I like take like 6 water bottles for the whole ride. Because like the important thing as athletes is to like keep drinking water like every single hour of the day. Because like we're sweating so much and like our muscles are gonna get fatigued, and that's when like injuries come in. So like you always want to have like at least 8 ounces of water every hour. And like even in class, like I have my water bottle, and like the professor would be talking and I'm like sipping water at the same time. But like right now it's definitely a habit, so like I always carry it with me.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a habit that I felt like I took in a lot of water, but then after I talked to people, I'm like, wow, like no, like I need to be taking in way more than what I am. What about learning volleyball? I mean, you know that I'm self-taught. I never really played at any measurable level, and so a lot of what I've learned is from talking to other people, talking to players, talking to coaches. You still feel like you're at a point where it's like, wow, I have a lot to learn about volleyball?
I definitely have a lot to learn about volleyball. Like I always think we can learn even more and keep growing and learning, but it's just about like being coachable too, like not feeling like you know everything, like definitely being coachable and like receiving that feedback in a good way, and also like being super focused and disciplined in like the task in front of you every single day at practice. So I'm just really excited to like just keep, as my 4th season, I think I know a lot already, but it's like no, I have a long way to go still.
Well, you are so respected by your teammates and by all of us, but I think over the years that you've been here, you've really garnered a lot of respect from people in this program. So I want to end this with the same deal that I asked Kelsey and Peyton, and that is the bond between you. You came in together as freshmen, and there are other girls that came in with you, but I know they've expressed how much they look up to you and how much they enjoy being your teammate. Got to be a special bond with those two.
It definitely is like super special, because we came in, we're the only 3 girls left from the 2019 class. So like we've been through a lot, like COVID happening, and also that senior class that we had, like it was such a great year for us. And then like going through so many ups and downs, it's definitely like really special for us. I'm like really close to all of them, and just like knowing that I have them and I'm not alone, like just also being away from home, knowing that I can count on them, that I could talk to them, and also like just basically it's just really special. And I just remember DM, like in our team meeting in the beginning of the year, she was like it flies, like this time flies. And I remember my first day as a freshman when she like told us, hey, like let's try to make it special and like make it fun for the seniors. And I remember it was Sar and Corinne, Didi, and Julia, and we were like, okay, but like you didn't know what it felt like until like you're a senior. So it was like, yeah, we'll try to do that. Right. But then now hearing it as a senior, I like started crying, because I'm like, it's been 3 years since that time. Like it's definitely really special, and just like knowing that I'm with them, and like I'm just really excited.
Well, you are so well thought of here. And through the season, we got a little bit of a stat watch for Audie. Audie comes in with this season with exactly 900 digs in her 3 years, so approaching that magic number of 1,000 on the back row, and I'll be all over that as we get close to it. 83 aces also, so going to go past 100 aces more than likely this year. That's another big milestone. So Ariana Pagan cementing herself in the record books here at SFA. Thank you for the time, Audie.
Thank you so much.